Well, hello, everybody. This is Bob Van Buren. Welcoming you to another episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. As always, we have a very special guest talk about a very interesting topic. But on those lines, it's kind of you could say, a mini celebration. This episode is the 20th episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. So, you know, number 20, hey, it's a little bit of a step, but I'm getting there. So I'm really kind of happy about that. Even got myself a monogrammed shirt for the occasion. So this is episode 20, and hopefully we'll have episode 200 and 220. So I'm glad all of you have stuck around, and I hope you've all learned something as much as I have. So glad you're here. Reminder that we're here a live show every week. So that if you missed the live show, it's okay. These shows will be archived, so you can watch them later. So always a learning experience here. Tonight, we've got a very, very interesting topic, and it's something that I've even kind of thought about over and over. One of the things that, you've seen in this history or in my shows, I'm a really fan of history. I believe in preserving history, not just for my own self, but for the future generations. I think it's a teaching moment to actually be able to go to places that a historical place happened. It doesn't have to actually be a historical place, but just, buildings in general. Maybe they've been repurposed for something else, but it really is kind of sad. And I know we see it in every town that we are, a building that's been around for a long time, or a home even, and it gets boarded up. Nobody buys it. It just sits there and it rots. And later on, of course, it's probably going to be condemned. It's probably going to be looted and tagged. And to me, it's kind of a shame because we're losing something when that happens. I've got a few pictures here just to kind of show you. This was at one time a hospital. It was a hospital located on a military base, and it was built in the 1950s. But unfortunately, this is what it looks like today. And I can't help but wonder how many servicemen went through this hospital, how many babies were born in this hospital during the war. So it would be nice if somebody would have come in and maybe kept it maybe as a civilian hospital. But unfortunately, it's left to its own devices. But it's not just the buildings that rot. Sometimes it's homes. Like here's a simple little home that I found. And you look at these houses and you think, how many families have lived there? How many birthdays have gone on there? How many anniversaries, Christmases? How many babies came home from the hospital? And now it's just boarded up and it'll be torn down. And unfortunately, it's just it's kind of sad. Because you look at a house like this, at least I do. I look at a home that's been abandoned. Okay, well, who all lived there? Who was it? Like, was their name Jones, or was it Johnson, or Fuller, or even McKeehan? But we'll never know. So I always like to see old places like this refurbished, put new life into them. And so it doesn't always happen. But lots of times I go by an abandoned property and I think, well, naturally I want to know what it looked like in its heyday. But what does it look like now? What's happened to it over the years and the decades? But fortunately, we have people that will show us what it looks like, what's happened to it, whether it's been completely abandoned, whether it's being refurbished or whatever. And me personally, I find it's interesting when people can go into a property and kind of do the exploring for us so we can kind of watch and see what they're doing. And the guest I have tonight does that exactly. And I'm very happy to have him on the show to talk more about this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Zach from Rooted Expeditions, and he's going to tell us more about his adventures and what he's seen and what he's found. And so, Jack, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Thank you, Bob. And I also want to say congratulations on another milestone at 20th episode. So that's really cool.
Looking forward to it. It's been loads of fun. I've really, really enjoyed it. Every guest I've had on so far, the last 19 episodes, has been very interesting. And number 20 will be no different, I'm sure. So glad you're here. So let's just kind of jump into it, Zach.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's for people. I mean, there are people maybe have heard of urban exploration, but maybe not really sure what it is. I mean, can you kind of if someone asked you what urban exploration is, how would you define that?
Yeah, I like how you did that because no one's really came at that approach. I kind of like that. So urban exploring is people that have either a passion for seeing history or want to see abandoned historical buildings. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be abandoned; it could be historical, but it's people that have a camera or have a video camera and want to either film, take photos, or just simply walk an abandoned building or historical building and
Wow.
try to capture moments and preserve history because not a lot of people know that, but here in America we don't really preserve enough buildings that have a lot of history,
Yeah.
or people think it lacks history, so they tear it down. And these are like buildings from like the 1800s, early 1900s,
Wow.
and they tear
Mm.
them down, and the only thing that's left is pictures. So taking pictures or videos just to preserve that location, um, or just simply have a memory. Oh, I remember when I went there. You didn't have to take a photo or video or whatever, but that's capturing the moment. You're preserving the moment, and that's pretty much urban exploring. A lot of people do confuse urban exploring with vandals and graffiti artists and people
Yeah.
that are going into these places to destroy them. Like, oh, you shouldn't be in this abandoned building, but people don't realize that we're in there not to disturb anything or hurt anything. We're just simply trying to get in there before it's destroyed, so that we can take pictures and or film or just capture the moment, as I like to say. So that's pretty much where the urban exploring, or as a lot of people call it, urbex, short for urban
Oh,
exploring.
urbex. I like that.
So, but yeah, so that's what it is. And right now, it's been a real tough community. It's been tough for our niche for urban explorers because we do get tied into the line of with the vandals and graffiti artists and people that want to basically destroy these buildings before they fall on their own,
Mhm.
or destroyed. Um, so we're trying to separate that, and let people know that we're just here to preserve the history. And once people realize what we're doing, you get a lot of support with that because you see, oh wow, these people aren't trying to hurt anybody. They ain't trying to do anything. They're actually trying to preserve these buildings. So
Mhm.
that's the way I look at it. I mean, if you capture the whole building or just a section of the building, at least somebody could say, "Oh, wow, there used to be a
Really.
post office here, or there used to be an old school here, and now there's like a parking garage." So,
Sure. And I
but
like that. Yes. And I agree. Yeah. I'm glad that you're separating from the vandals because we've seen it pictures and we've seen videos where maybe it's an old church from the early 1900s or a really historic mansion. Maybe somebody famous lived there, but vandals get in there and
yep,
they just bust every window out. They tag everything and they even steal stuff, like rip the doors right off the hinges,
yep, yeah,
and then even doing some illegal activity. Needles are everywhere, and so I think that's
oh
unfortunate.
yeah, yeah.
So yes, so I'm glad you mentioned that. Urban exploration is totally different from vandals. You're just there to take pictures. This
Hmm.
is what we found, pretty much, correct?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's fun. I mean, I never thought I'd be doing this. So let me back up a little bit. I've only
Okay.
been doing this for a little over a year. I started in March of last year in 2020 when COVID hit.
Mhm.
Or I launched my first video in March 2020.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you. And so been doing it since then because COVID happened and my business slowed down. And
Sure.
I watched a few urban explorers or people that were exploring and they're traveling. And I was like, this is so cool. They're seeing historical places. I want to do
Hmm.
this, and because it's always been a dream to discover and go on these adventures. And mine was more set to like ancient ruins, trying to discover ancient ruins, Indiana Jones type
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah. Uh-huh,
So
for sure.
but yeah, so I mean, it's just, if you would have told me 2 3 years ago that I'd be doing this, urban exploring, traveling and capturing and preserving places, I would have laughed going, I don't see that happening, but it is. So it's fun and I'm running with it. So
Hey, you never know. You might find the Ark of the Covenant.
hey, I might. You never know. You never know. One day, because my goal is to eventually get overseas, and especially, I mean, hopefully, if everything, I'm not going to get into that, but hopefully everything clears up so we can get over first I'm trying to get to the UK, but I am trying to branch off. I would like to go to Egypt. I'd like to go to
Oh, that'd
Africa.
be awesome.
I'd like to
Yeah.
go. I've seen the Mayan temples. Never filmed it. I have a memory of it, but I would like to go back and film those because there is a lot of cool stuff there. And yeah.
Well, we got a comment, a question from the chat, so I'll stick that up there. Okay, Zach, how many times have you went in a place and had snakes, spiders, and unfriendly critters, and how do you handle that? I'd like to know that myself, Zach. Thank
Okay.
you, Gene.
So I I've ran okay for doing this, and I'm knocking on wood, grace to God. I have only ran into a snake one time, and it was actually at
Oh,
a
man.
very well known. It was called the Witch Castle, which was it was a mansion, and the story goes that a witch was hung out there in the field,
Oh,
and it
wow.
is very
Ooh,
well known to do satanic rituals and everything. The building, the mansion that's left there is just the outer walls, really, and everything's grown up on the inside.
I
I haven't
see.
even actually put that video out. It's still in my collection, but yeah, I saw a snake out there, probably about 6 foot snake. I don't know if it was like a copperhead or I don't know what it
Wow.
was. It was something, but
Youch.
I kept my distance with that. I am very aware of these places because usually when you're going to abandoned places, not necessarily historical place. I mean, I guess it could be abandoned historical place, but
Hmm.
the abandoned places usually you'll probably find stuff like that just due to the fact because there is high grass, there is moisture, and there is cool spots out there, around the rubble. So, but I always keep it in the back of my mind, but I try not to manifest it. I try not to worry too much about it. The only thing that really gets to me is the spiders because I'm always running into spider webs.
Oh, me
So
too. I'm a magnet
that
for
that's
that.
the hardest when you're filming and you got your camera and you got a nice smooth motion, and then you run into a web and you're just like, your camera's going everywhere. But
Thinking Black Widow or something like that.
yeah, and that is a worry. But at the same time, I just put it in the back of my mind and try to focus on what I'm doing because if I'm focused on the bugs and the insects and stuff like that, it it can become distracting and it takes you away from what's really going on, which I've already experienced that there at the if if y'all haven't seen me doing the screaming where the screaming was going off in the woods at the
Oh, wow.
cemetery when I was doing the alone
Mm.
challenge. I was literally being attacked, infested with bugs. They were in my nose and I kept them going in my eyes, my
Oh,
mouth,
man.
my pants,
Uh,
and everywhere. And it kept me so distracted that I actually was able to make it through the full 30-minute challenge because if I was really focusing on what was going on out in the woods, the sounds that could have been coyotes. I don't know. Never heard them before. I have coyotes around me here, so I never heard those
Me
sounds
here too.
before.
Yep. Hmm.
But I will say that's what it is because I don't know. But it probably would have made it a lot harder to do the challenge. So again, when you're focusing on not what you're doing, it can become a little distracting, and so I try not to focus on that. That's I
I
guess to
see.
sum up that long answer to that
Sure.
question there.
But are you open to all dwellings? What I mean by that is, there's abandoned houses, there's abandoned factories, there's abandoned hospital, abandoned funeral homes. Are you open to all types of buildings, or are you limited to only certain kinds?
I'm open to everything. I like homes. I like homes because I don't know. I just like homes because I owned a construction business for 13 years, and
Oh, wow.
I love to see craftsmanship. And of course, if you in this urbex world, you'll see that the craftsmanship back in the early 1900s and the 1800s,
Hmm.
they're still standing pretty much. I mean, yeah, the weather's really took a tour on it, but they don't stand like the houses here that fall down in 5-10 years.
Yeah,
So
I
it
agree.
is definitely different material, different. It's just more time put into the craftsmanship. That's what's really cool about seeing this type of stuff. You're like, wow. I mean, they really plastered. They made the plaster have flowers on it. I mean, they literally would take a plaster and put it in a little baggie or whatever and do little designs up on the ceilings. Like handmade designs.
Yeah,
Like that takes
that's
time.
that's awesome.
So
When you go into homes, are they abandoned, or do you find like personal effects still around the house, or both?
Both. I've only been in, I think maybe that I can think of on the top of my head. I might be wrong, but there's been one building that I went into, a home that was pretty much a time capsule. It's been ransacked by people's stuff, but or people going in there looking through the stuff. But
Oh yeah.
there was some stuff in there from 1940s. You know, from when the family
Oh
lived there
wow.
from before, because we actually got to
Family
talk
photos.
family photos, family
Oh
stuff.
wow.
I mean, little
Hmm.
china sets and stuff like with gold rim plating and
Wow.
very expensive stuff in there, you know. And that goes to why I don't share locations, because people go in there and they'll steal the stuff and they just
Yeah.
don't leave how they see it. So, you know, if I pick something up, I'll try to put it back, you know, exactly how it was. Or if I open a door that was closed, I'll close it back when I go. Or same with pictures and stuff like that. But it's hard. I've come to find out here in Texas, just here in Texas, you know, and I don't know if this applies for every state, but just from what I've noticed, is that a lot of places here in Texas are so ransacked that nothing is left behind.
And
And
that's
when
so
you,
sad. That's so
it is,
disheartening when I see that.
it is, and the ones
Mm.
that haven't been, I just I haven't discovered them because they're so hush hush. No one knows about it. So, yeah, and Sandra, yes, I would like to explore in Canada. That would be awesome, so I can get away from this Texas heat.
Well, you said something earlier, Zach. I'd like to make an announcement to
Sure.
my audience here, people that watch this. As a disclaimer, I am not going to ask Zach where his locations. He's probably not going to give it to me anyway. But the reason being is just what he just said. If he reveals the address, I guarantee you some vandals are going to erase whatever history's left there. You
Yep.
know, steal, loot, tag. So probably it's a good idea. I mean, we could be interested, but probably the locations need to be anonymous.
Yep. And anytime that I do give a location, it is because it has been a public place. It's a public
Okay.
place for everybody, or that I have owner's consent. But even with this, a lot of people don't know when the owner gives me consent. I'm not going to talk about the place I went to today, but I went to a very well known place that a lot of people have been dying to get in, but they haven't. And I told the owner, he says, I'll need you to share this out and tell everybody. I was like, all right, this is
Mhm.
stipulations. I'm going to let you know what happens when I give these locations away. And he's like, well, you know, I'm have everything in my road to protect my building. So I said, okay,
Absolutely.
I just have to let you know that once you give me that permission, when the cat's out of the bag, you can't put it back.
You can't.
Everybody's going to
It's
know where that
gone.
location's at, and everybody's going to know, you know. So only if the owner gives me consent to push out the place, I will.
That's
Um,
good.
but or unless it's public, I'll do that. But if not, I won't. I'll just say, sometimes I'll lie and say, well, this was somewhere in, you know, Texas, or when it was like somewhere in Tennessee or something like
Absolutely.
that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I try to divert, not just to become a liar, but just to protect these places, because I think more and more people are realizing that. But me in the beginning, coming into urban exploring, I didn't know. I was like, I'm here, right here at this at this address right here, exploring this place. It's so cool right here. And I learned real quick in an early age of doing this. Don't share your location.
Absolutely.
People will get mad. I have many people cuss me out saying you're just a punk for not sharing the location, blah blah blah, and you know
They've
you
got an
shouldn't even be
agenda for
exploring.
asking you that, I think.
Exactly. You know, and a lot of people will say this too. Oh, well, I was going to save the place. I'm going to save the place. Sure, you will.
Yeah. We talked about finding things in the home. You found some mementos and photos.
Yeah.
Barbara wants to know if you've ever found this. You found any creepy dolls in houses?
Yeah. Yeah. I found some pretty creepy stuff. And
I can
yeah.
imagine how that would look. Yeah.
Yeah. The creepy dolls, yeah. There's some, yeah, I get my fair share of creepy dolls. And I don't know why back in the olden houses, like there's always creepy dolls in there. It's like, even the homeowners are like, screw this, leave this behind. You know, this is creepy.
Got another question too. I
Yeah.
got some good questions tonight. Let's see what this one says. From Gene Hudson. So Zach, what about spirits? How do you handle them? Have you had any contact with spirits that you believe were? Put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I've been dealing with it, and this is a whole nother subject, and another reason why I don't do paranormal. But I've had paranormal experiences since I was 8 years old.
Oh
I actually
wow.
have a documentary out on that on my channel called "Walking in the Spiritual Realm." It just shows about to the many 200, 300 accounts that I've had since I was 8 years old. I mean, I still deal with them today. And
Okay.
I mean, I have encounters and stuff like that. But um, my faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, that's how I handle.
That's good.
That's how I handle these things. And that's why I was able to handle what I did at Pennhurst. And that goes to say, speaking, to answer her question, how do I deal with this, is the perfect example was Pennhurst Asylum. It could have been very, very bad. What was there was very dark, very sinister,
Yeah.
and it hated me. It
Oh,
didn't want me
wow.
there. I
Scary.
could feel it. I feel it saying that, you don't belong here. And I said, who I serve, and
Mhm.
that we're mad. And my wife we were in this protected bubble, and I felt it. And every time I'd go into this room, because the REM pod, if anybody knows what a REM pod is, it has to be touched for it to go off. Well,
Sure.
REM pod was going off. We walk into the room, it stops. Somebody else was doing
Wow.
their spirit box session and doing the REM pod and in another room, and we went in there, it stopped. It just
Oh, wow.
was wherever the spirit was going, it was fleeing. And there's more to that whole place, but it was and I saw this man walking down, and we were in the tunnel, we had the lights off, and I seen this man walking towards us, and he
Wow. Ooh.
transformed into this weird looking creature, a demonic type being or whatever it was.
Mm.
And it came into this black mask, and then it tried to come on my wife, and she could feel it, but it couldn't. It was like right here, but it couldn't touch it.
Wow.
So
Spooky.
yeah. But yeah, the
Oh,
Lord, the Lord Jesus is how
absolutely.
I handle these spirits. So I
Okay.
hope that answers the question.
You mentioned Asylum.
Yeah.
You sent me some photos before the show. Is this the one you're talking about here? I can show it.
Oh yes, that's the place that'll give you nightmares.
Do you know when it was abandoned? How long has it been empty like that?
It was abandoned for 20 years before they bought it out, and they now they do ghost hunts. They do a Halloween theme every year. So basically, they it's just a place that they just rent out for the night, or for people
Mhm.
to explore or do mainly their ghost hunts. I mean, I was trying to tell the dude, he's like, "Oh, you're really gonna love all the paranormal stuff." I go, I'm not here for the paranormal stuff. I'm here for this history here, and there was so much history here. I still didn't even get to really go through it all.
And that's
Uh,
Pennhurst. You call it Pennhurst, right?
Pennhurst in Pennsylvania, yes.
Wow. Okay.
Phil,
It
was it
looks foreboding.
Philadelphia? Philadelphia, yeah. Yeah, it was very eerie. It was probably one of the eeriest places. This place was so big, it had its own area code.
Oh man.
Yeah, it
Wow.
has its own stores, own. I mean, it's all abandoned. I mean, it's a huge place. I mean,
Wow.
many
I see.
buildings, and you can only get access to three. There's four buildings you can actually get access to, but there was only three we were able to go to, and they're about to open up another building, but they've taken down a lot of other buildings due to regulations and stuff like that. They can't let
Mhm.
people go in and stuff like that. Buildings that I would explore, they wouldn't let you explore. So
Most of your urban explorations, what kind of equipment do you take with you? I mean, a flashlight, obviously, but is there any other special equipment that you take
I just
for this kind of hobby or profession?
I started out with this. I started out with this phone right here. It's a
Okay.
iPhone X. I actually bought it right before I actually started doing YouTube, so it actually worked out perfect. It took
Okay.
good pictures and good video, and then I was blessed with you probably everybody here probably knows who Kerry from Bigfoot Odyssey is.
Yes.
He actually
Hmm.
blessed me with one of those Sony
Absolutely.
waterproof Sony cameras, and he really helped kind of help push me in the right direction and growing my channel and starting out. And he's like, "You're gonna need one of these. Get away from your phone." I'm like, "Yeah." So I got into that, and then I ended up getting a GoPro. I ended up getting a Canon camera. That was a really good camera, but it was too bulky, and it just didn't it, it didn't fit for what I was trying to do. So I went back to doing the GoPro and the Sony, and
Hmm.
and then I'll use my phone. So And I use a drone too now. I just recently
Oh,
invested
that's
into the
good.
drone.
Wow.
The drone is a good investment for urban exploring. You definitely get a different angle and a feel of what you're really exploring. So it looks a lot different above than it does on the sides, on the sideline.
Hmm.
So
So when you go to these places, and I've heard this about urban exploration,
yeah,
you're there just to investigate. So no, you mentioned in this one house you saw from like 1940s family photos, it was silverware or whatever. You're just there to
yeah.
take pictures. You don't take anything with you, correct?
No, no, and that's the thing. Like okay, I might even still have it. There's only one thing I've ever took. I've never taken anything, and there's been some pretty cool stuff. And I just don't believe in taking anything from any place that I go to. I want to leave it just leave my footprints. That's it. Just take
Hmm.
photos and leave footprints. But I went to this place that was a really bad area, and I found a bullet laying on the ground. I've
Oh.
shot a bullet that was shot because they would go out there and they would shoot um, guns out in this abandoned factory.
Mm.
And that's another story. We found, I don't know if I could say the words on here, but we found
Go ahead. Okay,
drugs.
good.
We found a big bag of white drugs.
Oh,
and
wow.
I mean,
Cocaine, I guess. Oh,
yep, yep. And we
mm.
found blood, and it just,
Blood?
yeah, it was a very surreal situation. We just really didn't know how surreal it was until we kind of left and we really thought about it. We're like, well, we're kind of stupid to keep staying around there. But because there was a group of people that came up as we were finishing because we did our drone shots last. I was with Tippa
Hmm.
TV, and we were exploring. I was with my mom, who has a YouTube channel as well, and we were, just filming and doing our drone shots. And these guys just pull right up, like they see that we're filming, and they didn't give a crap we were there. They just budged their way in there and parked right up at the front of the building. And I'm like, okay, it's time to go. And sure, they were going back to get what they dropped.
Right.
So it was a very weird situation. But yeah, this is the only thing I've ever took. I don't. There's been some tempting times I wanted to be like, this is really cool. It can't just be somebody else is going to take it. That's my thought. I'm like, well, it could be somebody else. I can't. I gotta leave it. This is somebody else's stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever worry though when you go to these abandoned places? I've heard rumors that other people have done. They go into an abandoned factory or abandoned house, and there's squatters there, or homeless person, or maybe a drug infested person there. Have you ever had that happen? Do you worry about that? And how would you prepare for something like that?
Um, I don't know. Um, I don't know how I'd handle it. I probably would tell you how I would, but it probably wouldn't go down like that. Um, I'd probably try to come at them with love. I mean, I don't, because, whatever they're going through, I mean, now, with a clear mind, but like I said,
Mhm.
what I'm telling you, I don't know what I would do.
Till
But
you get there, you don't know till it happens to you. Yeah.
yeah,
Have you ever had that happen so far that you've dealt with?
not ran up on me. We've been
Okay.
to a couple of places that have had people in there that we just couldn't see them, but we could hear them. They were keeping their
Oh,
distance. That, or it was some straight
wow.
up human like activity, paranormal activity or something. But I mean, it's very creepy feeling too when
I bet it would
somebody's
be.
in there and they're just keeping their distance. So, but yeah, no, I haven't. Unfortunately, we've been blessed to not run into any
Yeah.
crazies. But
We'll
that
pray
is
about
probably,
that.
yeah, and I do pray before. If anybody's asking, I always pray before I go and after. So, um, depending on the situation, I'll pray after. If I feel some weird stuff going on, I'll pray after. But yeah, I don't know what I would really do. I just haven't had that opportunity. I'd probably run out of there, depending on how it is. I mean, it's not worth it's not worth trying to fight the person that I see, unless they're trying to hurt one of my friends or something.
Oh,
Like I
sure.
said, I have no idea. I don't know.
I was going to ask you, okay, on these places that you go to, um, I mean, some of them I'm sure are falling apart. I guess what I'm asking, like, say you come from a two-story structure, but maybe the second floor doesn't look that sturdy. How do you kind of gauge not necessarily a second floor, but any structure where it's safe to go in or not. Because if they've been sitting for a while, the rotting has come in.
I
And so,
do the look and I go, um, if I don't go try it, I'm gonna regret it while I'm editing this video. So I've gotten to that stage now where I'm literally like, I gotta go check it out, or at least try to check it out. And if I don't, I know I'll regret it. That's my mindset, and I've started to do that these last few months. Where I even done it, and you could even see in the video, like, okay, even in the Screaming Woods. I mean, that was a perfect example. Is I even said, look, I said I got to go over there. I'm going to regret it, and I didn't want to go over there, but I knew I would regret it. So I was like, okay, well, at least if I capture something, I'll capture something on film, whatever. But I usually, when like rotting floors and stuff, the second stories usually really do scare me because I am scared
yeah,
of
that's pretty
heights.
spooky.
I'm
Oh,
scared
are
of heights. I hate heights. Nope, nope. I've done it too many times in urban exploring. We went up, I don't know. I think it was 70 or 100 feet with no railing. It was a
Oh,
staircase, concrete
oh,
staircase that went all the way up. No railing. So coming down, I mean, it just, I'm like, if I trip, I'm done.
exactly.
I'm
No one will
done.
find you either.
Yeah, I know. And it's going to freaking hurt falling down. And then, but yeah, I do like I guess you call it the one step. I put one foot in front and I kind
Yeah.
of do the tap, like, okay, and then put my weight on it, back off a little bit. Okay, it's good.
Well, it's not the
So
fall. It's not the falling that hurts. It's that sudden stop at the bottom that
yeah,
hurts really bad.
yeah. It's not the scared of falling. It's what happens when you stop.
Well, let me ask you this then: since you've been doing this, Zach, have you ever been to a place, factory, home, whatever? You took a lot of pictures, and you come back sometime later, and it's been torn down. In other words, you got there just in time to take some
Yes.
pictures. So, has that happened to you so far too? That you
Yes,
know?
it's happened a few times, and one was a school. The one that was really cool was a school that the Jackson Five went to. Not, I don't think
Oh,
all of them, but I think most of them went to this
hey,
school,
that's
and it was
history
just,
there.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it was. I mean, I didn't get to go into any of the classrooms because there wasn't much left of that. But yeah, I was able to film that before it was completely destroyed. And there's been other buildings that I have been able to film that are no longer there, and I'm just like, dang,
Mm,
that sucks. But at least I got it on film. So
exactly.
yeah,
Well, you sent me a lot of pictures, so let's just kind of go through some of these
sure.
places that you've been. I'm sure my audience, of course, and of course, would like to know more about this. So I'll pull up a photo and you can tell us all about it. All right.
All right.
So here's just in no particular order. What's this one right here?
Oh my gosh, this was probably my favorite photo that I've ever took. I actually took this on an iPhone,
Oh, it's
and
good. It looks great.
I took this. This was at the Jeepers Creepers house in Texas. Well, a lot of it's well known as the Jeepers Creepers. A lot of the locals call it the Jeepers Creepers, and uh, this was the abandoned barn that was really close. Was right next door to this abandoned farmhouse. This abandoned
Uh-huh.
farmhouse, I actually got some weird stuff going on. A lot of
Oh,
paranormal
really?
activity going on in this house. It's probably one of the creepiest. It's probably, well, I'd say one of the creepiest houses that I've been into. Then there was another house that literally these were the only two houses for miles and miles
Mm.
any direction, and these were probably probably one of the two creepiest spiritual houses that I've ever been into. So,
It looks pretty spooky from the outside.
well, I think in one of the pictures that I have, I think it's actually I think I sent you one of the pictures of the actual house. So,
Okay, let's go to the next one. Is this it right here?
yep, that's it right there.
That's the house. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
freaking creepy as
It's
heck.
seen better days, looks like.
Yeah. It's I would say it's early 1900s, just the way it is. And they
Now that
actually,
black stuff around the walls, is that mold or is it actually burn at one time?
no, it's actually mold. The
Oh,
filter that I
wow.
used on the picture, it actually brought it out to that. But yeah, it's all actually mold and
Ooh,
mildew, green mildew that's on the outside. So,
yuck. Ugh.
yep,
So, man, a lot of history in that house. It's just kind of shame to see it like that. So,
yep.
Okay.
It's
Let's
a
how
pretty
about
big it's a pretty big house for being back in its day, for being the type of structure it is. I mean, this little front part right here, you could tell, just being in construction, I could tell that this was an add-on to the actual house, the where you can see the three smaller windows there and the
windows
one on the
there?
side.
Yeah. Might have been a
So
porch there at one time, I guess.
very possibly could have been.
Okay. Okay. How about this guy?
That's actually where I found the drugs and the blood
That's
and
the
the
drugs and the blood. Oh, okay.
yep, and the bullets. I mean, this is
We'll
not
talk
the
after the show, and
nicest.
that way I can avoid this place. So,
Yeah, well, this is actually a very public place. It doesn't need actually. This is one of the places I actually can tell you. Actually it's in Fort Worth. It's off of well, it's off 35 in Fort Worth. So
okay.
yeah,
I probably
uh,
passed it then.
you probably have. It's right next to Echo Lake. There's the lake right there. It's Echo Lake up. Well, the lake's on there on the left side of the picture there.
What did this used to be? What was it at one time?
Oh gosh, now it's a trash incinerator where they would burn trash, and I think they only did it for I think less than 10 years. It's like pretty much as soon as they opened up, they had to close shop because the EPA came in with new laws that you can't
Didn't do
be like
that.
emitting all that smoke. But it's a really cool place and very cool. If you're like a photographer, this is the place to go because there's so many angles, so many types of things that you can get. So it's really cool.
How long do you think it's been abandoned?
It was abandoned for, I think it's been abandoned for about 60 years, I believe.
60?
60,
60? Oh,
60
wow.
years, and look how nice it looks without the minus the graffiti. It was built very well.
Oh, wow. They did make them
So
good back in the day.
they
So,
sure they did.
okay. How about this guy?
Oh, yeah. This is another one. I wish I could tell. I will be able to tell where this location is, but it is an abandoned meat factory where they would slaughter the
Ooh,
cows and
youch.
package them. So, yeah, um, yep, yeah, that was actually a really cool, creepy place at that. This used to have five buildings. I think it now. I think they tore them all down. I think this is the only one that stands right now. So I got to explore two of them that were left out of the five.
I'm almost afraid to ask you this question. Was there anything remaining in that building?
No,
Any?
I looked.
No,
I looked for the blood, but there was
nothing
graffiti.
there.
There was graffiti everywhere. So,
Oh, of
and this
course.
was another good place. And this has the fence up here, and they used to not have a fence,
I
but I
see
guess
it. Yeah.
from all the people going in and out. But now they actually took this fence down, and there's actually like a steel fence, like you can't get through it.
Keep people out.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
Pretty creepy.
yeah.
Okay, let's see. What about? I don't think we looked at this one yet. How about this one? Oh, hey, I like old houses like this. What's the story on this one now?
This is a house somewhere in Texas, and it was just an old Victorian house. So I stumbled upon this house. It was me, my mom, and my wife. We were actually driving around and trying to just do your old type of scouting, where you get in the car and you just go down county roads and you see what you can find, because sometimes you can't find everything from a satellite map because it's hidden by trees. And we actually got lost, and we went down this old road, and we actually found this house. It was abandoned. Unfortunately, I could not get inside because you can see it's all boarded up and stuff, and I don't break or enter. If the
Oh, yeah, I
door
see
was
that.
wide open, I'd go in, but it was all boarded up, so I just didn't go. So it's a really cool house, very cool. I'd say 1800s,
That
maybe
is,
early.
yeah.
So
But it's broke. It breaks my heart to see it just sitting there.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yep.
did we look at this one or no? We didn't. So, what's
Okay,
the story on this one now?
okay. So this one is not abandoned, but this
It's
one,
not. All right.
no, it's not abandoned, but it has a lot of history. I think it was the only house around the area at the time. This one is a public place. I'll go ahead and give the location. It's in Gainesville, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the Hill House Manor. So this used to be a speakeasy, I believe, at one point.
Oh, really?
It used to be a brothel. So back in the day, and there was a fight between two men and a prostitute, and one of the men ended up blowing the other man's head off. So and became
Oh
famous
man.
as yeah, became famous for the murder that was there done over a woman. So,
Mm.
yep,
That is, well, that's an interesting story.
yeah. Yeah.
So, oh man, that is awesome. So, what? Let's just talk about that. There might be someone watching this show
Yeah.
that maybe is interested in urban exploration themselves. Hey, this is something I'd like to do, and he or she may be watching. So, if they were going to ask you, Zach, like for advice, how would they start out? What would be some things you would tell them? What advice or lots of advice you could give to him or her if they really were serious about getting into urban exploration?
Um, Make sure the places that you go to are safe. Uh,
Okay,
I'd probably say out of my number one rule that I say is never go alone. I know a lot of urban places
that's
where
good.
people go alone, and if you do go into a building by yourself, make sure at least two people know where you are and how long you're going to be there. But or it'd be better if they just sit in the car and wait if they don't want to go in with you.
Good
So that
idea.
something is wrong because things do happen, buildings do collapse,
Hmm.
boards fall, things happen. Somebody can jump out. Animal can attack you. You never know. Um, you just never know. Um, let's see. Um, Make sure if you're doing abandoned places, make sure you wear jeans and boots. I mean,
Jeans and boots for
jeans and
sure.
boots. Don't want to step on any nails because once you step on a nail, you probably never wear shoes or sandals again. I've seen people. I
Oh
say
yeah.
this because people do wear shoes and sandals. I sometimes wear shoes, but I only wear shoes when I know what place I'm getting into. But most of the time, I'll wear boots and jeans because you don't want stuff hitting you on your legs and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
want to definitely keep
Hmm.
protected. Make sure you got a lot of water because you don't realize how thirsty you get while you're exploring a abandoned building in the summer. Um, let's see. Um, Talk to the right people. If you're going to do urban exploring, talk to the right people before you do it because they'll give you the best advice on what you should do. So that's really what you should do if you're actually going to start off is
Of
talk to
course,
somebody that's been doing it.
especially if that's obviously a flashlight, like an iPhone, whatever too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Make sure. Yeah, if you're going there, if you're going to go there, make sure you at least film it so you have it for yourself. Don't. I mean, you could go in there and just. I know many people that go in there and do this, like, oh wow, this is so cool, and don't take it, but just take a photo. Take your camera with you. You can use your phone. I've used my phone for the first year. I mean, I still use the phone sometimes because I like the way sometimes the camera is on it. So, uh, but yeah, that's what I
like
would.
you, I like the advice you gave about don't go alone. Take someone
Yeah,
with you. Or as Sandra would say here,
buddy up.
buddy up.
Yep, the buddy system. Yeah, we know, and I I do preach a lot on that. I have some friends that do go on their own, and
Mm,
I get on to them about it. Like you never know,
never know.
and as long as you tell somebody where you're going, how long you'll be there, because it's like, look, if I don't get back to you in an hour, something's wrong, because you don't want to be stuck there for 24 hours and then somebody go, oh wait, they're missing, and you're just there, you're there stuck, or you can't move, or something happened. It's not worth it. You're not getting paid $1 million to go look in this building. It's not worth it.
Right. Let me I asked you a question earlier, but let me ask kind of the opposite question.
Yeah.
I asked you about, have you ever done urban exploring and the place has since been torn down? Now, have you ever, and hopefully your answer is yes, have you ever been urban exploring where the opposite happened, where the property was fixed up, it was refurbished, it was
Yeah.
cleaned up?
Yeah, this one
Is
this
there?
one's cool. So there was a building that I explored in up north. I
Okay.
still don't want to give the location, but
Yeah, that's fine.
it became a landmark. I did a video there. It's one of my most viewed videos, but it's the worst video ever edited. Like it was when I was first filming and I was jerking the camera all over the place because I was so excited I couldn't keep the camera still. And on top of that, I almost forgot to film, so I didn't get everything I wanted to get. And but it I shared it so many times for a year that I had the video out that it had gotten so many people that looked at it, um, through Facebook and wherever else it
Sure.
was shared, that the city was going to tear down this place, and it was built in the 1920s. It was a huge palace.
Wow.
It
100
was,
years.
I call it a palace. Everybody's like, it's not a palace. It looked like a palace. It was a huge mansion, probably about 10,000 square feet. On top
Wow.
of that, it had a mini mansion where the servants would stay, where all the
Oh,
maids
man.
and all the service people
Paradise.
would stay. Yes, it was beautiful, and they were going to tear it down and put 100 little mini homes in that
Urban
all that.
sprawl. Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
talk to a lot of the neighbors there, because I like trying, if I get a chance, I like to talk to the locals because they tend to know a little bit more what's going on. So, and they were just really upset about how the city was going to come in and tear it down and everything.
Yeah. Such a
And
waste.
yeah. And so come to find out, I had somebody reach out to me and they said, hey, this is no longer going to be torn down. It is actually going to be a landmark, from what I heard. So
Oh, wow.
that
You
was
made a
really,
difference then.
maybe, and I'd like to think maybe I did it. I don't know. Somebody did. Somebody did. Was it my sharing? Because I know that the first time I shared it, and because you could see how many people it reaches, on your page. On the first share that I did, I think I reached 180,000 people. Didn't get
Oh,
180,000, clicks or anything, but
awesome.
it was in front of 180,000 people. So that was on for one time sharing it, and I shared it several times. So possibly maybe it reached to 1 million people. I don't know. And
That's
somebody
great.
did something, because I had a lot of people private message me, hey, I want to save this place. I want to save this place. I want to save this place. So maybe they did a petition, because the location ended up getting out, because some people go in there, oh, I know that building. It's this right here. And then boom, they plaster it like the,
It was
the
already
address.
there. Yep. That's what
So
happens. Yep.
that's out of the
Hmm.
bag. And so maybe somebody saved it. I don't know. But I'd like to think, sharing stuff like that out, because if there's historical buildings that they're going to tear down, it needs to be shared out, because there is somebody out there that will do something or has some type of pull to do something. So something happened there, and they're no longer going to tear it down. They made it a landmark. So cool.
And see, I like that. Again, like I said in my monologue here, I'm a very big history buff. So even though maybe I don't know the history of a house or the history of a building, I know it's been there for decades, maybe 100 years or more. And I
Yeah.
just feel like there's got to be a way, even if it can't be quote a house or a factory, refurbish it as something,
Yep.
And so I like hearing stories like that where something can be saved for future generations. So that's really great.
Yeah, and actually, one of the pictures I sent you is an aerial shot of. Is you probably maybe know where this is. It's in Glen Rose, Texas. It's the Outlaw Station.
I wasn't able to
Just
open one of them for some reason. It might have been that one. So
okay.
sorry.
That was the It was made out of made out of petrified wood. I mean, and some stone and red brick, but
Oh
it's
man.
known for the petrified wood. And supposedly, Bonnie and Clyde. It was a hot spot for Bonnie and Clyde to go there. Either they ran moonshine out of there, or they picked up a lot of moonshine to take on their journey or whatever. But it was built for moonshining, but they're just now gonna sell it. So, and they're selling it to be as an apartment complexes. So I'm like, I hope they don't destroy the building, because there's a lot of history there,
Yeah, leave it. Yeah.
But
In
that's
fact,
that. Go ahead.
Randy even said he knows Outlaw Station.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just got back there. It was so cool. It was like meant to be, because I was there filming, and this guy pulls up in his truck. I'm like, oh man, these guys are gonna get my shot. It was a broker. He was putting the dang for sale sign right in front of the property, and
Oh
I'm
wow.
like, dang, how much you gonna sell this for? And he's like, well, I was like, I couldn't get him to give me a full answer. He's like, well, it's gonna be 20 plus acres. So he's about 25 acres over here. I think each acre selling for about 35,000. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, this dude's not even going to give me a roundabout answer, because he wasn't giving me, he was kind of beating around the bush. But, I don't know. And I hope he's like, well, they can use this as their leasing office. And I'm like, they're probably going to tear it down. That's what I'm thinking in my head is like, if it's an apartment complex, they're probably going to tear it down. Unless somebody likes history, they'll probably try to preserve it. But
Right, I hope so.
that is something that is probably not going to be, and I hate saying this, but it's probably something that's
Mhm.
not going to be around much longer. Just
Well, in your experience, Zach, since you've been doing this, what would you say, whether it was a house, a factory, whatever building, where? Well, I don't say where it was. What was the oldest structure that you've urban explored on? How old was it? Do you think? And just what kind of building was it?
Oh man.
If you had to guess, let's plot
Dang.
it. or one of the. We'll pay one of the oldest. I'll put it that way.
Shoot, man, I've never. I don't think I've ever had that. I can't remember if I've ever had that question before. Um,
Or an old structure, just top of your head.
I mean, the let's see, that one was 1920s.
What the asylum here?
No, that one was. I think it was early 1900s.
Or
Um,
maybe this one.
that was like mid 1800s, early
Oh,
1800s.
that's
So that
pretty
was.
old then.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know I've been in some old places. I just honestly, I'm going to be honest. I can't think of one on the
That's
top of my
okay.
head. So, but I'm trying to think now.
That's awesome. I think it's great what you're doing because again, these places may be torn down. They may be too late to be saved, but at least we have the photos.
Yeah,
And we can kind of use our imagination. What did it used to look like?
yeah,
You talked about the designs of the especially the old 1800s, early 1900s houses. The craft. You talk about the craftsmanship.
yep, yep, yeah. Oh, you know what? I take that back. Okay, now it's coming to me. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
It was the Anchorage Mansion, I believe. It was like early 1800s, very early 1800s, and it was still in
1800s.
really
Oh,
good condition. This was where they actually had the molded plaster, and like they would put the plaster in a little baggie, and they didn't tell me this. I just knew this from construction, but they would literally hand draw these designs on the ceilings and then on the walls. They would
man.
literally do it, and you could see where they would shake when they were doing it because their lines weren't
Yeah.
perfectly straight. And I was like, because they were squeezing, when they're squeezing, they're shaking, as they're doing. But it was really cool. And that was in Ohio, the Anchorage Mansion. It's no longer abandoned. It's sat abandoned for many, many years, but they're slowly trying to restore it to be identical to what it was. So that is
They
really
are
cool.
restoring it. Okay, I was hoping you weren't going to say it's going to be just being torn down.
No,
Oh,
no, they're restoring room by room, but it is taking several tens of thousands of dollars just to do each room. So, and they do. I think Ghost Adventures has been there. If anybody knows who they are, with Zach Baggins, so he's been there. It's a really popular spot for, I guess, paranormal activity. I was there again. I was there for the history. I was like, I don't care about what's going on paranormal. That's
hmm.
cool. That's cool. I want to see this history, and I was just like, oh wow, I was so amazed. But yeah,
So yeah, that's very interesting. Again, I just we don't know the stories, but I've seen pictures where there might be an abandoned farmhouse, and you kind of
um,
touched on it a little bit, and it just kind of it breaks my heart when I see mementos left behind, especially family photos still hanging on the wall, and you look around and
yeah,
just like the people had for some reason left in a hurry, or the generation just didn't come back. And I'm like, it's just to me, it's lost history, and I really, I hate that. I don't know why that bothers me so much when I see that.
it is really sad to see the photos. You're like, these
Hmm.
are these are memories, and
Yeah,
people left this stuff here.
yeah, just there to rot, and so
It does blow your mind. You're like, why? At the same time, you're like, this is so cool, you know.
yeah,
But I mean, the main thing that I'm gonna say the main thing because there's a lot, but one of the biggest things that I really like is an untouched abandoned building with natural decay, like maybe vines going through it, or moss growing where the carpet was or where the wood
right.
floors are. So there's like a grassy floor. You walk
It's
in, it's
nature's
nature,
coming.
nature take over. I really like that because it gives it that apocalyptic, I guess, look. That you
Hmm.
just would see in movies, but those are becoming rare because everybody likes to destroy stuff.
Have you ever been in a place? And I've heard a few urban explorers say that they'll go into a place, and why this is happening, I don't know. The power is still on. And I'm like,
Uh,
have you ever had that happen to yourself? I'm sure that's probably pretty rare. Why would the
yeah,
power still be on? But I didn't know
I
if you've
I
seen
don't
anything.
I can't answer that because I don't know why electric is still on in an abandoned place. Because then, if you think about it, well, if electric's on, it's not abandoned.
Well, that's
The
true.
beach
Yeah.
the Beach Army Hospital was like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'll bring that picture back up. Go ahead.
yeah, that one right there, and that one is actually public, so that's why I said, and it's worldly known. And they actually now, I think, as the moment, last I heard, and I know you said something that they're trying to get it into, but they actually do um, rented out. There's places, and there is cameras here. You cannot break into this place. There is cameras, and their cops surround this. And this is on a military base, by the way. So, yeah, you got to be
There's
very
been people
careful.
that's been there before, but I guess that was before the cameras. But now there's cameras there.
Yes, there's cameras there, and this place actually had when I went in a long time ago, uh, it actually they actually had the power on. It was pretty crazy.
Wow. I do know the history on this. The hospital itself was built, I think, in 1957,
Hmm.
and but now it lasted 20 years. It wasn't needed after the Vietnam War ended, and it's just been sitting there like this, for what 50, almost 50 years, which is something. But yeah, I did hear that they are refurbishing it, not as a hospital. Another business is kind of going in there. So
Yeah,
David, hope they got the dinero to do that with, because it's a lot of,
and
you got 50 years of rotting to take care of.
and that's the thing is it becomes so much irreparable that either you don't have the money to demolish it, or you don't have the money to restore it. So it just sits and rots, and that seems
Yeah,
like what the most cases are, because it costs a lot of money to demolish these places too. And a lot of people don't think, well, just demolish it, or rehab it. You don't realize that it's cost a lot of money,
yeah.
to
We
do
have a
stuff.
suggestion from somebody in
Yeah,
chat. We talked about this
sure.
military base. Randy Gilbert says, "Go check out the buildings on Fort Bliss."
Fort Bliss. Write that down. Fort Bliss. Cool.
Oh, Randy, you gave him an agenda item now. We're gonna have to bring you back on the show, Zach, and see how that went. That does
Fort,
sound interesting, actually.
Fort Bliss. Where is that? Is that in Texas, or is that?
Oh, yeah, Randy, where's the exact city name, if you can give us that? So, you got Zach's interest. You got mine too.
Yeah. And you
Oh
can
wow.
always, if anybody has locations, you can always email me at rootedexpeditions@gmail.com. It's spelled right there. Rooted Expeditions.
Okay. Let me put it up there on the at wait, rootedexpedition@gmail.com is what it was.
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm putting it up on the
Oh, El
yeah.
Paso. Okay, cool.
Does that look right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you have any suggestions for Zach, ladies and gentlemen, or you got any questions for him, or like more information, this is his email address, rootedexpeditions@gmail.com.
Yes.
And so, yeah, to check him out. And yeah, Zach, I'd love to have you back on the show sometime to kind of give us an update on kind of what you've seen and kind of what's been going on. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very interested. Like I said, I've seen other explorers. Now I won't watch them now. I'll be watching you. Of course, you've been on my show. So yeah. So what other urban explorers? They haven't been on this show. So
Hey, that's okay. We're all trying to. I feel like we're all trying to achieve the same goal here: preserve locations. So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, Zach, that's kind of all the questions I have. Again, I appreciate what you're doing. Again, as a history buff myself, I love history and I hate seeing history erased. And
Yeah.
so,
Me too.
love what you're doing and people like you that kind of take us on the inside and kind of show us, the building might be lost, but at least we've got these pictures to kind of keep it going in our minds how it used to be at one time. So,
Yeah.
thank you for your efforts.
Well, thanks for having me on the show, and letting me be able to share a little bit of what I do. So,
All right. Well, Zach, I hope you have a great evening. Again, thank you for being on the show.
oh, thank you, and thank you, everybody.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this episode, the 20th episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. I'm very happy about that. Hey, it's one small step for me, but a giant leap for the YouTube community. I know I'm not being sarcastic, but I'm very glad. So, and all of you that have subscribed, that have stayed tuned, that have joined chat, and have watched these videos, I really appreciate your support. So, if you want to support me even more and keep track of more interesting guests and topics, subscribe and you'll definitely get some notifications for the next show. So again, this is Bob Van Buren for the Van Buren Variety Show. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. Hope you all have a great evening, everyone. Good night.